Hello everyone. Hope you all are fine and taking care of yourselves. I hope you all have enjoyed your vacations also and you all are taking care of yourselves. Right. So student, in the previous video we have already completed lesson number 1 and 2, which we are going to cover in your first unit test. Okay, and the revision has already done, but still if you're having any kind of doubt, you can ask in your live online classes to your teacher. Okay, student, now today I'm going to start with lesson number 3, which is on page number 42. So, all of you, please take out your books and open page number 42. Here it is, lesson number 3, Matilda, the reader of books. So, here, as you can see, Matilda, the reader of books, by the name of the chapter itself, you can recognize that this is the chapter about a little girl whose name is Matilda. And the reader, who is the reader? A reader is someone who reads the book. So here, Matilda is the reader who loves to reading book. Okay, student. So, first of all, we'll start with the book work. Some work is given here in your book. What is it? Unscramble the jumbled words to complete the wise words of a wise writer, Dr. Zeus. So, student, here two lines are given in your book. You have to unscramble the jumbled words which are given here in these two lines, and then you have to write down in your book. So, these lines are written by Dr. Zeus. First of all, let me clear you all who is Dr. Zeus. Dr. Zeus is a very well known writer of children's book like The Cat in the Hat or The Places You Go. And I'm sure most of you have heard about these books. They are very famous book. So in these two lines, what Dr. Zeus is telling us, the more that you read, the more things you will know. The first word is this. So this word is R-E-A-D, read. The more things you will know. The second word is know, K-N-O-W. Okay, so what this line is telling us, the more that you read, the more things you will know. Of course, the more you read books, newspaper, magazines, or anything for that matter, even children comics, even children magazines, whatever you read, student, you will learn more with everything that you're reading. Right? Now, in the next line, the more that you learn, the more places you will go. This word is learn, L-E-A-R-N, learn. The second word is places, P-L-A-C-E-S, and the last word is go. So, this is the more that you learn, the more places you will go. So, student, physically it is not possible for us to be all the places at the same time, but it is possible for us by bookstore reading. Right? So, this work you have to do here in your book. These two lines you have to write down correctly here in your book by scramble these words. Okay. Again, I'm telling you about these words. The first word is read, R-E-A-D. Then the second word is know, K-N-O-W. The third word is learn. Next word is places. And the last word is go, G-O, go. So these two lines are, the more that you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you will go. Okay. Now let's read the story of an extraordinary girl who loves to read books. Okay, so what does the word extraordinary means? Extraordinary means the girl or someone who is having some special qualities which makes her different from other children of her age. So in this story, Matilda is a small girl who is different from other children of her age, and the characters in the story are Matilda, who is a little girl, Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood, who are the parents of Matilda, and Mrs. Phelps, who is the librarian of a public library. Okay, now as you can see here in the picture, a girl who is lying here on the floor and just reading the books. She is Matilda actually. Okay, this is the story about this girl, Matilda. Now let's just get started with the story. Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood had a daughter called Matilda. So Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood, they are the parents of Matilda. By the age of 1.5, Matilda's speech was perfect and she knew as many words as most grown ups. So, student, when she was at the age of 1.5 year, she was perfect in reading. I mean, she knew many of the words which the grown ups knows. And by the time she was 3, Matilda had taught herself to read by studying newspapers and magazines that lay around the house. And after that, when he was at the age of 3, he just taught herself to read by studying the newspapers and magazines that she was having in her house. Okay, now at the age of 4, she naturally began wanting books. Means when she was at 4 years old, she was asking to her parents about the books just because she wanted to learn or read new books. Okay, she wanted new books. The only book in the house was one called Easy Cooking. But she don't have too much book in her house. She was having only one book and the title of the book was Easy Cooking. Now with the name itself Easy Cooking, you all can recognize that this was maybe a book of cooking or the recipes of the food etc. Like, so she read this from cover to cover. What Matilda has done, she read the book from cover to cover and learned all the recipes by heart. Now, what is the meaning of cover to cover? Cover to cover means reading the book from the beginning to end. So she read all the recipes and she learned all the recipes by heart. Right. Then she decided she wanted something more interesting. After reading this book, Matilda felt that she want some other books to read as she got interested in books. Now next. So one fine afternoon, she went to public library in the village. So here, as you can see in the picture, what happened one afternoon? She went to the public library in the village. So what is the meaning of public library? Public library is the library and that is open to everyone. Means everyone can go there and find out some books to read. Okay. So what happened one day, one fine afternoon? Matilda went to the public library and then she said, "Where are the children books, please?" asked Matilda. What Matilda asked? That where are the children's books? They are over there on those lower shelves, Mrs. Phelps told her. So who was there? Who there was a librarian. The name of the librarian was Mrs. Phelps. So what she told? She told Matilda that they are over there on those lower shelves. From then on, every afternoon, Matilda would toddle down on the library. So every day, what Matilda used to do, she just used to walk in a relaxed way in the library. Toddle down means just walking in a relaxed way. Okay, she would sit quietly by herself in a cozy corner, reading one book after another. Afterwards, what she's doing, Matilda just find out some comfortable or relaxed position in that library and there she used to sit and just read the books. Okay, cozy. Cozy means comfortable and relaxed. Okay, so she would sit quietly by herself in a cozy corner reading one book after another. Right, student? So, when she had read every single children's book in the place, she started wandering around in search of something else. So, what happened after some time? When she read all the books, whatever the books are there in the library related to children's book, when she read all the children's book, she was just wandering. Wandering means roaming here and there, and she was just finding out something else. Matilda was finding out some other book. Okay, can I help you, Matilda? Asked Mrs. Phelps. When Mrs. Phelps saw Matilda, that she was wandering here and there in search of another book or something else, then at that time Mrs. Phelps come closer to Matilda and she asked, "Can I help you, Matilda?" Then Matilda said, "I'm wondering what to read next." Matilda said, "I have finished all the children's book." So what Matilda said, students? She said that I am wondering what to read next because she has finished all the children's book. Then next what happened? Mrs. Phelps looked down at Matilda from her great height and Matilda looked right back up at her. So when Matilda asked Mrs. Phelps to find out another book to her instead of the children's book, at that time Mrs. Phelps was quite surprised. And Mrs. Phelps looked down at Matilda from her great height. As you all know, that Matilda was only 4 years old. She was a kid. She was very young, so she was small in height as well. And Mrs. Phelps, who is a younger lady, older lady, she was very great in height. So Matilda just used to do her head up, and at that time, Mrs. Phillips looked down at Matilda. And she asked surprisingly, "Exactly how old are you, Matilda?" Then what Mrs. Phelps asked, "Exactly how old are you?" Because Mrs. Phelps was so much surprised that a little girl has read so many books in a short time. Then what Matilda replied, she said, 4 years and 3 months. Mrs. Phelps was very surprised indeed. At that time, listening to the age of Matilda, she got more surprised. Who got more surprised? Mrs. Phelps, because Matilda was only 4 years and 3 months. "What sort of book would you like to read next?" she asked. After that, Mrs. Phelps asked to Matilda, "Okay, beta, what kind of book would you like to read next?" Matilda said, "I would like to read a really good one that grown up read, a famous one." So, what Matilda said? "I would like a really good one that grown ups read, a famous one." Means she wanted to read a good and a famous book. At that time, Mrs. Phelps looked along the shelves. "Try this," she said at last. "It's very famous and very good." So finally, Mrs. Phelps got a book from the shelf, and she said to Matilda, by handovering that book, that you should try this because this is a very famous and very good book. Great Expectations. Matilda read by Charles Dickens. I would love to try it. So, what was the name of the book? The name of the book was Great Expectations, and it was written by Charles Dickens. And then afterwards, Matilda said, "I would love to try it." Then, afterwards, students, within a week, Matilda had finished all the 411 pages of Great Expectations. Did you understand this point? Within a week means within 7 days, Matilda has finished all the 411 pages of Great Expectations. That's why at the beginning of the story, I told you that Matilda was an extraordinary girl because she was only 4 years and 3 months old. But what she has done, she has read a book within a week which contains 411 pages. That means she is different from other kids of her age, right? Now, next, turn your page, everyone, please. "I loved it," she said to Mrs. Phelps. "Could you choose another one for me?" So, after a week, what Matilda said to Mrs. Phelps that I love this book and this is very interesting and good book. "Mrs. Phillips, could you please choose another book for me?" Sorry. Now, with Mrs. Phelps' help, Matilda read lots and lots of famous books. Then afterwards, what happened? Mrs. Phelps find another books for Matilda, and with the help of Mrs. Phelps, Matilda read lots and lots of famous books. "Some writers say a lot of things I don't understand," Matilda said to Mrs. Phelps. So what Matilda said to Mrs. Phelps? She said, "Some writers say a lot of things I don't understand." The next, what Mrs. Phelps said. She said, "A good writer will always make you feel that." Mrs. Phelps said, "Don't worry about the bits you can't understand. Sit back and allow the words to wash around you like music." Then at that time, what Mrs. Phelps said? She said to Matilda, "Oh, a good writer will always make feel you that." Okay, and you don't worry about the things you cannot get or the things you cannot understand because you are very means young at the age. So no need not to take any tension about that. Sit back and just relax yourself. Okay. "Did you know," said Mrs. Phillips, "that libraries allow you to borrow books and take them home?" So after some time, what happened when Mrs. Phelps used to saw Matilda again and again and every day in the library, she said or asked to Matilda, "Ki Matilda, do you know that the libraries allow you to borrow books and then take home?" I didn't know that, said Matilda. Then what Matilda said? Matilda said, "Oh, I was not knowing about this, that I can borrow the books and I can take the books to homes for reading." From then on, Matilda would visit the library only once a week in order to take out new books, and she returned the old ones. So at that day, Matilda came to know that she can borrow the books from the library, and from that day onwards, she just only visited the library once in a week. And at that time, she just borrowed one book, and in the another week, she just returned that book and find out some other book to read. Her small bedroom now became her reading room. Though the stories she read, Matilda traveled all over the world while sitting in her little room in a village. Now, what happens to her next? Her small bedroom became the reading room. Why it is called so? Because every week Matilda brings some new books to read. Okay, and with the help of these stories or by reading these stories, Matilda traveled all over the world while sitting her in a little room in the village. So that's what Dr. Zeus said in the second line, which we have just discussed at the starting of the chapter, that the more that you learn, the more places you will go. Means physically, it is not possible for us to be all places at the time, but by reading some stories or by reading the books, we can go anywhere. Means we can feel that we are just travel the world. Okay, student. Now, this is the extract taken from Matilda. And who is the author of this? Roald Dahl. Just read about him also. He was a British writer and a poet. He was also a pilot in the Air Force. And he once said, "If you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams and you will always look lovely." Right? What he said? If you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams and you will always look lovely. So, student, you all must have good thoughts all the time. You all must think good and positive all the time. Right? So it was all about the story, student. And I hope you all have understood the story very well. Now, in homework, what you have to do, you have to go through the video one more time and just do the reading of story, and please understand what is discussed in the story. And in homework, you have to do word meaning in your fair notebook. Word meaning in your fair notebook. Okay, student. The word meaning are given below at the downside of the page of your book. Okay, number 1 word meaning cover to cover, number 2 recipes, number 3 public library, number 4 toddle down, number 5 cozy, and number 5 wandering. All these word meanings you have to do in your fair notebook. Now in the next video we'll meet again with the remaining portion. Till then, all of you stay home, stay safe and take care.